Pegasus Podcast, presented by Night Sports Now. UCF news, views, and a few hot takes. Now, here are your hosts, Bailey Go Knights Adams and Christian Charge On Simmons.
Welcome into episode 305. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. You can also email us at PegasusPodcast@ksn@gmail.com. Listen, I said 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock. I never said 8 o'clock sharp. So thank you, MD Knight 2016 in the chat saying we were late. He also said that we were false starting, which is not true. That would mean if we started earlier. So you're wrong. UCF beat Oklahoma State 17-14. It was scary.
It was scary. We actually, just to clarify, I wasn't actually ready to start. I just saw MD Knight saying they're late, and I immediately pressed the live button. So I'm getting my little notes up here. But yeah, hey, UCF won a football game. It was those nights you love if you're a UCF fan. It was a nice, fun game at the bounce house, stress-free, never really in doubt, just a nice, relaxing, fun environment. So yeah. Nothing happened in the game.
They definitely didn't fall behind 14-0 in the first half or after the first half to a team that has lost 9 games in a row and hadn't won a Big 12 game in 2 years.
Yep.
And it's averaging 14 points per game coming into they scored 14 in the first half, and I was like, this is their average. Little did I know they would actually stick to their average, which is kind of nice. But yeah, UCF, I wanted to say came alive in the second half, but they did in the game on a 17-0 run in the second half. The offense did just enough. Noé Ruelas kicked the game-winning field goal with just under a minute to go. Dylan Wade had a monster half, I guess I should say. And yeah, UCF survived. It was not at all pretty, and it was largely not fun, but they won the game.
They did win the game. And honestly, it's like, whatever. It did feel weird. I know we talked about this a little bit on our last podcast, but them being favored by the amount of points they were favored by never made sense to me. And we kind of talked about that on the podcast. It was probably going to be a little closer than that. And like I said, I don't want to overly downplay, because I get it. That was such a frustrating game for so long. And there were definitely points, especially in the first half, where it felt like, oh, no, wait, UCF actually might lose to this team that has lost 16 straight conference games, which would have just been insane. But I'm kind of also, for things I know we're going to try to touch on this podcast briefly, for the offseason has begun to spin, and I've kind of moved on, which is like not a good place to be in. But what we've said all season and all offseason has been true. And I honestly was starting to get a little flustered during the game with some of the tweets I was seeing, because this was always a year zero. This was always a roster that they had to throw together on the fly, given when Frost was hired and given just the current nature of college football. I was surprised how many people, especially in that first half when things were really bad, were like writing – I don't know, their referendums on the Scott Frost era. Guys, there's not a thing that can happen this season that was going to sway me in any way. We've talked about this before, that like
much less this game.
UCF could have gone 9-3 this season. It could have been way better than we were ever anticipating. And the ball bounces their way every time, and it's perfect. And I still would have been like, I don't feel any better about the Frost era than I did before. This season was always going to be a weird one-off year where they just threw together a team based on what they could put together. And boy, did that change after, given that they have not had a healthy quarterback for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There is not a healthy quarterback on this roster. Davi and Taven are not healthy. Cam and Jakari can't even play. Like it is what it is. And yeah, that Oklahoma State team's terrible, and UCF did what you do when you're playing a terrible team. They just kind of wore them down over time. Mm-hmm. Like that's pretty much all it was.
So all along, and from the beginning of the season, we said this is probably a 5 to 7 win team. They win 5 games, probably worst case scenario. 7 games maybe is probably best case scenario. And that was before we understood, or before we had any idea what this quarterback situation would look like. So the fact that they have gotten to 5 wins, 1 more win than last year, as you tweeted earlier, with a tougher schedule, with a roster that was thrown together. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know where all the angst comes from, other than the fact that, like, yeah, it's frustrating to watch bad football. But
yeah, and that was some bad football, guys.
Yeah.
That was about as bad as it gets. I was there. The Big 12 kept, like, the Big 12 Twitter account. Obviously, it's a conference game, so they're tweeting about the game. Yeah. Like, they're just, highlights, whatever. I'm just like, why are you publicizing that this game is taking place between these two awful
If they
teams?
hadn't been doing that, no one would have known, because it was on ESPN Plus. I'm sure, 37 people watched it, and yeah, I mean, 37 people probably started watching the game, and then with the way the first half went, I can't imagine all of them stuck around. So yeah, it was ugly.
I really do want to just take a moment, and like I said, if you've been on Twitter, you saw I tweeted it, and you touched on it there, but I really do just want to underline the point that I feel like a lot of people are missing, that for Scott Frost to walk into this situation where when Gus left, the roster dissolved overnight. He was hired after signing day, so there was no chance for him to in any way impact the high school class. This high school class was locked and loaded when he got here. It was done. Do not forget that in 2016 when they hired him, things were so different that Frost was hired as the coach. He had like 2 months, more than 2 months, I think, to put together a high school class. And that first high school class was largely
coaching
his.
Staff at the same time.
Yeah. This was Frost walked into a team that they were weeks away from the portal. He had to put together a whole coaching staff. There was no one on the roster. They knew they were going to have to add 50, 60, 70 players just to get to a roster, get to 85 scholarship guys, and for them to go through that. And have to have a lot of guys in this team, which I don't want to without singling anybody out, like a lot of guys who probably shouldn't be playing at the P4 level. I think we all understand that, but it was just the nature of UCF doing what they had to do. They won more games than they did last season. They improved over last season, despite the fact that this is an odd year for scheduling. Like it goes back and forth the home and away. So UCF had to play more road games this year than last year. They played a really tough schedule, had to play a lot of really good teams, including multiple teams that are probably going to the playoff. They still won more games than last year. And they went 5-2 at home. And the only 2 losses were by single digits. Like when you think about everyone wants to talk about, why aren't they? I don't know. I actually don't even know. Some of the tweets I saw tonight were insane of just people like Taven Jackson throws a bad pass and people are like, wow, Frost sucks. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do, particularly when the situation was already bad before they had a 3-way quarterback race all through the offseason, and 2 of those 3 have been injured almost the entire season. Cam and Jakari were healthy for a combined 4 games.
I think so.
Jakari got hurt in his first meaningful snaps immediately. Cam broke his ribs, and that was coming off that concussion and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This has been such a mess of a season, and what I can genuinely say is props to Frost and props for the coaching staff for holding things together and getting to 5 wins. Getting to 5-7, which is not a good record, but it's not an apocalyptic record. It's not 1-11. It's not 0-12. It's not 3-9. It was a team that was competitive for pretty much the whole season.
Yeah.
There was 1 game. There will be another one next week. But so far, 1 game that they haven't been competitive in. That is genuinely impressive, and Frost deserves credit for that.
I said this all week, and I said this to you even earlier today, that assuming UCF won this game, we would have to do the what if they beat BYU after what we saw in this game? No, I can't even do that. I can't even lie to you and say, if they pull off the upset, they go to a bowl game. But I mean, how much motivation do you think Frost can try to strike into these guys that he gets another year and a lot more money if they win this game?
Oh my God, I forgot. I completely forgot about the contract.
So that's next week. That clause in the contract is on the line.
If you don't know what we're talking about, there was a clause in Frost's contract that if he makes a bowl in year 1, his contract is automatically extended an additional season. For all the things I just said about how Scott Frost deserves credit, that was just insane that they put that in the contract, and that should not be there, and that's dumb, and it's going to hurt them down the road if they have to fire Frost because things aren't going well and there's another year for some reason.
Well, it'll hurt them if they win next week.
So basically, we're rooting for UCF to lose. No, that's not what we're doing.
I'm rooting to not have to watch it.
BYU's playing Cincinnati right now, so unless you're listening live, hello everybody. If you're listening tomorrow, you'll know more than we do. But yeah, I don't think next week's a winnable game. I do wonder if obviously UCF is going to play. That result is going to look different than it would have if UCF lost tonight because they are playing to go to a bowl. They're playing to keep this team together for a few more weeks. I'm
Brian wants to pay the players even more.
Brian says Frost in the locker room. I will cut a check for $5,000 $5,000 to each of you if we win at BYU next week. That's great. That should be how these contracts work. But I do think that I think UCF's gonna pull out all the stops. I think we're gonna probably see some zany stuff and some crazy stuff because they are playing with their season on the line. They're just also playing BYU in Provo in late November as BYU looks to lock up a spot in the conference title game and go to the playoff. So
not that this has any bearing on anything. Well, maybe it does because it's the Florida team. But are we in potential snow game territory for UCF or no?
Yeah, I was talking about the weather with Chris Boyle at the game. I think I think there's supposed to be precipitation that day, and it could be a little snowy.
That could be fun, just aesthetically.
Yeah, because if there's one thing that I want to see this UCF offense do, it's play in the snow.
Aesthetically. There makes for some good pictures, especially if the uniform. JP
Gilbert says there's 3 millimeters between you guys.
JP only watches these post-game podcasts to comment on our shoulder-to-shoulder setup here.
Guys, it used to be worse when we do it on the couch.
It was a lot worse.
We have a nice little setup now. Jeff0918 says this team is due to win a game we have no business winning. I would argue that every game they've won this year is a game they had no business winning, so I'm not sure I agree. I actually feel like as we watch this play out, I feel like weirdly West Virginia might have been that game.
Yeah.
They probably should and that game makes more because remember they had that quarter and a half, they weren't very competitive, then they had a couple big plays and at the time we were like, oh, that shows that they're really ahead of West Virginia. And I don't know, I think maybe so. I'm not so sure. But yeah, it's been it's been a frustrating year, obviously, because it's just never, regardless of what you expect to happen or what you know is going to happen or what it means for the future of the program or doesn't mean, it's just never fun to watch your team lose games. And they're going to end up losing 7 this year. But one thing I also wanted to say about just this season is what it is the crowd tonight was like the worst crowd of the season, which isn't surprising. They don't have much left to play for. The, students are going home and stuff like that, but it still wasn't a bad crowd by any means. And I was just thinking about, it's like late in the game when UCF tied it up, the place is so freaking loud and it's rocking. The shirtless waving. We got the shirtless section all going crazy. And when they tie the game, the stadium breaks out chanting UCF. And I just think I compare that to like, we're watching SMU this afternoon before we go to the game. And SMU is having a really good season. They're a win away from playing for the ACC title for a second straight year. They've been awesome. They've spent most of their time in the Power 4 ranks in the top 25. Stadium's empty. We go watch Houston. Houston's having their best season in like a decade, and they're competitive in Big 12. Stadium's empty. There are so many schools across this country, particularly schools that have G5 roots, that would kill to have the types of crowds UCF has had this season when they're winning and when they're having big games. And UCF's getting that for when they're not good. Like, this was just a building year where no one for any moment anywhere, they started the season about almost losing to Jacksonville State. No one at any point thought they were going to be anything this year. And still this fan base has embraced the team and been so into it. And like, I feel like we don't spotlight that enough, especially given how young this program is.
Think about the bookend of the home schedule of Jacksonville State and Oklahoma State games that they weren't the same score, were they? They both 17-14?
17-10. Jacksonville State was 17-10. Okay, yeah.
But just games that at times felt like it was about to be the worst loss we've seen in a long time turned into, okay, well, at least they won.
This season was annoying at a lot of points, but like I said, this was always just going to be this weird one-off season where it was going to be more interesting to see what they do, once we see what the plan is. And we've been learning more about the plan, particularly in this last week. And improving over last season with a way worse roster, I'm not going to be super upset about that.
Yeah. Just a few stats here to kind of sprinkle in. Taven Jackson had a weird game. He was 16 of 25, 271 yards. After the kind of game they had, I don't know if we've ever said it on the podcast, but that stat about like UCF having the second longest streak without a 300-yard passing game, he came 29 yards short of it. He had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 2 bad interceptions. Obviously, Dylan Wade was the number one target. 4 receptions, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had an 83-yard touchdown on the first play of the second half to kind of get things going. Miles Montgomery quietly, like 18 carries, 81 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. Still have no idea why Jaden Nixon is only getting, 7 carries by the end of the game, but I think he had 2 like deep into the second half.
It's one of those things where it's almost not worth talking about at this point because he's a redshirt senior and they have a game left. There's one more game in his college career, but that's been a baffling thing to me literally all season. It's made me sad. Especially because and honestly, a lot more than Miles, he has been the type of guy who's been a bit of a lightning rod for them when he does get the ball in his hands. He does some dumb stuff, I guess. It's not like every play is perfect, but more than maybe anyone else on offense, he's been the guy where when you get the ball in his hands, there's the highest chance that something crazy might happen. Maybe he breaks off for a big run, makes something out of nothing. And when you've had such an anemic offense all season, I don't know why they haven't valued that more. I don't know what we're missing there of why he has just never really played a lot of meaningful snaps despite being a very good player. Every game it's the same thing.
I don't get it. Defensively, they gave up 14 points in the first half to a team averaging 14 points per game. And I was like, UCF's defense has been the strength of the team throughout the season. And I was like, has it just gotten to that point where it's like nobody cares anymore?
Yeah.
And they gave it 14 points, but then they came out in the second half. I don't know what was said in the locker room, or what maybe happened to Oklahoma State. It's like, we used up all of our points already. But Oklahoma State's offense in the second half went punt, interception. After Noe Ruelas kicked the go-ahead field goal, it took one play, a really good play. I wish who was it that tipped it? Jaden Bellamy, right? Yep. Jaden Bellamy. I don't know really how he even got a hand on it. I thought it was just going to be a really awesome pass breakup, but the way that he was able to kind of tip it, keep it in the air, and Braden Marshall was right there to return it. And then
can I tell you what was going through my brain when Braden Marshall was returning it?
What?
I'm happy they won the game, obviously. The defense really did after – I'm even going to say, I'm not going to get on the defense for allowing 14 points and a half. But either way, the way they locked Oklahoma State on the second half
was just weird to watch this awful Oklahoma State offense go 13 plays, 75 yards in about 7 minutes. To start
I feel like Oklahoma State put everything they had in that first drive. And then, by drive 3, they were like, we're out of things. And the defense was like, okay, you're done.
Then their other scoring drive was 12 plays, 77 yards in 5.5 minutes. So they had 2 really good drives, and every other drive was 3 plays pretty much.
So what was going through my head, because I'm a person with anxiety, is Braden Marshall picks off the pass. Great. Congrats, Braden. The game is over as soon as he hits the ground. Braden Marshall instead beelines for the end zone. My issue with this is that I am not even a year removed from watching Braden Marshall drop the ball without crossing into the end zone. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, if he does this again, man, I'm literally there and I'm like, until he, like when he went out of bounds, it was the happiest moment of my life. Because I'm like, I'm not convinced this game is over. The whole time everyone's like, is he going to score? I'm like, just go down, just go down, just go down. So
what's great about that too is right after that, he goes out of bounds. Great. UCF wins the game. You see the penalty was on the celebration penalty at the end?
It was on Stacey Gage.
Stacey Gage, who's not even in uniform. He ran out onto the field to celebrate. So I'm glad he's in good spirits. I know he's been dealing with an injury, but it was just funny because I saw 20. I'm like, is that Stacey Gage? And then I saw the flag go, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're calling that on Stacey Gage, who's not playing. That was fun.
Listen, if there's ever a time to commit a penalty, first off, shout out to Stacey Gage he's now in the stats for this game, despite literally being shut down for the season. If there's ever a time to commit a 15-yard penalty, it's when you're changing where your team's going to kneel for QB. So it's okay. But it's funny now again that I'm in off-season mode. I don't care about this BYU game. That's a lie. I do, and we'll preview it, whatever. But I also said to you, I said to you before this game today, because all this, especially with all the quarterbacks that's been happening, and we're just trying to figure out some offseason stuff over here. That I said to you, I was like, I'm just not sure I care about this Oklahoma State game at this point. This season was always a one-off. It's whatever. Then they score on the first drive, and I'm like, I'm in hell. So it's always a nice reminder. But a little bit looking ahead to next season, a couple things come to mind. One, they need to find a way to keep Dylan Wade. He's been really good. Yeah, and I think we knew that he was going to be that type of pickup, but he's really lived up to it. He's been just an awesome
a sophomore
pass-catching tight end. I don't think that means don't go get a tight end in the portal. They do need a good blocking tight end, but he is a guy with a lot of potential. Hey, this was a little bit, not quite, but a little bit of a breakout game for Wade and Charles. 6 catches, 78 yards. He was making some stuff happen tonight. I can't overstate how I know that those stats don't seem impressive. I know he's had some really bad moments this year, but to earn your way onto the field as a true freshman and to start contributing, that always pays off. It is very rare, especially at a position like receiver, to see a guy do that and not have him turn into something down the road. So I'm really excited about Waden too. That was just one cool thing about tonight is there were guys who should be back next year, or at bare minimum UCF will have the ability to bring back next year, who were having really, having a real impact already. So,
yeah, I mean, the stats aren't going to jump off the page, but as a true freshman, he has 240 yards so far now. I believe he has 22 catches for 240 yards.
That's great for a true freshman. For not just a true freshman, mind you, but a true freshman in this offense.
That is
this
true.
Offense sucks.
Yeah, I would love to see him somehow get the end zone. I think he deserves a touchdown next week. But
there's not going to be one next week.
Yeah,
but
that'd be tough. But
at Nice 247 Media says Bold Dreams are still alive. Spoiler alert: they are not.
Theoretically and technically. Yes.
I'm not even sure it's theoretical, but
I mean,
and I know BYU's not Texas Tech, they are genuinely. They're not a team of that level. The Texas Tech game, I could confidently say that it's nonsense to think they can win that game. BYU's a little different. Guys, the offense is broken. I don't know. I really, 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 I do not trust this offense to do a thing. And as happy as I am for Frost for improving over last year and having a solid debut season, factors considered, a very solid debut season. I am so excited to never watch this offense again.
Yeah.
I am so excited to never watch this offense again.
Particularly this offensive line. To an extent, Taven Jackson. He's had his moments. He's also had his awful moments. Honestly, the thing that I think in time I'll remember most about Taven Jackson, I think, is kind of just the toughness. The guy's gotten hurt. I said it before the game, as he went out onto the field for the first time, I was like, he essentially has 9 lives. Because at the end of every game, it's Taven is really banged up and hurt, and then come time for the next the first drive of the next game, it's Taven's out there.
He was limping. He took a bad sack and is limping off the field. I'm like, well, that might be it for Taven. They just trots out. I know I've said this before, and it's not something I know, but I'm just convinced that Taven. I'm sure the man has a season-ending injury, and they just can't call it that because there's no one else, so they have no choice.
He played 7 games with a season-ending injury, probably. That's crazy.
I don't even know how to say this guy's username, so I'm not going to try. But this person says, honest question, could this offense move the ball the distance between you two if they needed to score? I cannot. All right, shout out to Dylan Wade for that play where he was left wide open and scored a touchdown, in part because I couldn't believe we were doing it again.
Yeah.
That it was 2 yards out and UCF just couldn't find a way to score. And I'm like, I'm being subjected to watching this a second time this season.
Yeah.
But they did figure it out. They did score. Honestly, it was not a fun game, but they won.
Yeah.
What else is there to say?
That's kind of it. I mean, what else is there to say?
I was going to say this might be a shorter post game, Bob, because genuinely, they won the game that didn't matter. Like on to bowl eligibility next week.
The other thing to say about this game, I guess, is on uniforms. You want to go there?
No, well, okay. Let's not act like we're wrapping up the podcast.
I know, but we're not.
Something we want to talk
But I
about.
mean, we're wrapping up the game portion of this.
Yeah, uniforms look good. This is a little different because they did wear this combo earlier
Yeah.
this year. They did wear this for West Virginia, so I will direct you to my podcast there to get my takes on it. But yeah, I know I've said this is so annoying because it's the one combo I have to say the thing that everyone says is the meme for me, but it's the best thing they've ever worn. Everyone gets. I'm telling you, that's the one. Those gold helmets, black jerseys, black pants. There is no uniform that is more UCF and on brand than that uniform. And this iteration of it in this current uniform set is my favorite of it because of a few details. It's the Polaris stars and the drop shadow. I know we've talked about that a million times, but for those are never accentuated more than in the on-brand looks. And there is no more on-brand look for UCF than gold, black, black. And I love these gold helmets. I love the white stack on the gold helmets. It's been a few years they've been doing that. That was such an improvement from when it was the gold stack on the gold helmets. Just a great uniform. Like if UCF ever makes the playoff, that's what they need to wear. Like that needs to be the look for whenever they're in their big moments because it's just such a nice uniform, man.
This combo and that field design, amazing.
Was this the best? Here's a question. Was this the best uniform combo / field design together ever for UCF? The black end zones with the big gold Knights lettering and gold black.
I would think so.
Because they haven't. I don't think they've had that before. Like when they've done this in the past, it was night mode in 2022. 2023, what did they wear late in the year? What was the last home game of 2023? Oh, they did a blackout for Houston.
Oh.
Yeah, I think this is.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to find a comment. I keep forgetting this is a touch screen. Nighthand Luke says, thoughts on JMU Marvel helmets. Where are our Disney uniforms? All I'm saying is they wore those and they immediately lost Rocco Marriott. So you tell me what your thoughts are on the JMU Marvel helmets. If you don't know what he's talking about, James Madison wore helmets today that it was just the players could pick what Marvel character they wanted once their helmet. It was like the Hulk and Iron Man and all that. I haven't seen an explanation as to what the connection is. It's like they were just like, it would be cool. So
hey, good as reason as any.
I have to think I'm missing a connection because that seems like such an insane thing to choose to do. But yeah, I don't know.
As good a reason as any. I don't know. You want to talk about Rocco Marriott?
Sons of UCF says, I'm convinced Christian's water cup is empty.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I have if you've listened to this podcast or watched this podcast, I should say for any amount of time, you should know that I basically have a nervous tick where I need to reach for something.
You want some water?
Yeah, sure.
There you go.
Here, hold on. Bailey's getting me a drink.
ASMR of the water pouring.
Should we do it ASMR?
No, I don't. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
This is great water.
Don't do it. All right. You want to talk about? Okay. Oh God, nobody's gonna listen ever again. All right. You want to talk about Rocco Marriott? That was the weirdest intro we could have ever done. We just lost UCF recruit. Way to go. Good job.
I love that for the history of our podcast now, our first time talking about Rocco Marriott will be right after I slurped water right into the mic. And now we're going to talk about the biggest quarterback commit in the history of the program. So yeah, let's do that. Let's go.
Hey, nowhere to go but up. Nowhere to go but up from here. Yeah, it's exciting.
If you don't know what we're talking about, which I find unlikely if you're listening to a UCF podcast, there was some major news. That was today, right? That wasn't yesterday.
About him committing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was today.
Okay. UCF landed their highest rated quarterback ever by a lot. And that would be Rocco Marriott from Missouri. He's a stud. This is an absolute coup for UCF to land a quarterback of this caliber. I was saying to you earlier, I think it's kind of funny that for all the high level recruiting that happened under Gus and how UCF was recruited like they never have before. And they absolutely did, without a doubt. But the one thing Gus never did was land a true blue chip quarterback. Just wasn't. And honestly, it was kind of something that I didn't feel like was ever in the cards for UCF because just with NIL and the way things work today, like it's so hard to get quarterbacks of that caliber away from major programs or programs that can throw a huge bag at them. And I know signing day is still a couple weeks away, but guys, this isn't like July, like we're in the home stretch here. For them to go get this guy, that is a seismic win for Frost in his first recruiting class. And a little bit more of the background, if you don't know, is Rocco. I almost called him Rocco Bex. We got too many Roccos and too many Rocco quarterbacks in Big 12. Rocco Marriott is from Missouri. He was heavily pursued by SEC school Missouri, a school he grew up a fan of, and a school that his dad played for. And he's coming to UCF over Missouri. There's no caveat there, whatever. He just flat out straight up is coming to UCF over Missouri. That is, I can't overstate how big of a deal this is. Now, perhaps we should discuss the elephant in the room.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So, guys, I may have gotten a little too caught up in the Kane Archer hype, and now I'm forced to walk it back since he is no longer part of this class. The other news today is Kane Archer decommitted. I'm just going to break it down for you guys because I was seeing some shocking tweets today, but I'm going to not judge. I was saying some judgy things to you, and I always forget that like not everyone's a freak like us and is like super obsessed with recruiting, and not everyone lives in that world. When the Rocco news broke, I was surprised by a lot of comments I got on Twitter and that I saw on Twitter, and there were two varieties of this. One was, wait a minute, what, we like Kane. Why do you care that we got this guy? Which that's my fault. And the other variety was, sweet, now we have 3 quarterbacks in this class. And I'm like, So just to like reading between the lines here, guys, the Rocco Marriott visited UCF earlier this season. And I don't even know if we talked about it in the podcast. And I know with you privately, I was very dismissive of it. And I was annoyed. This is how smart I am. I was getting pissed at some of the hype people were trying to give to that because I was like, this guy's going to Missouri. Like, he's been committed to James Madison for months. Everyone knew he was not going to stick there. And it was like, I just was like, why are we hyping up this guy that's clearly going to Missouri? I did not think UCF was seriously in it. As much as I love Kane Archer, and you guys know, I was calling this quarterback room the pre-K quarterbacks. I've been in on Kane Archer for a long time, and there is a part of me that is genuinely, it was sad to see that decommitment hit. But with your UCF, let's look at the chain of events here. Rocco Marriott, in the last few days, the rumbling started that Rocco Marriott was going to be a legitimate option for UCF and that UCF could actually land. Suddenly, we're starting to see news that Kane Archer is looking at taking visits elsewhere. Rocco Marriott commits to UCF. Kane Archer decommits to UCF. It's pretty clear what happened here, guys. This was UCF. This wasn't a replacement for Kane Archer. This was UCF landing their dream option. And in this era of college football, there presumably ain't enough rev share money and NIL money to be paying multiple high-level quarterbacks in your class. That's not going to happen. Like, it was going to be an either or. And like I said, I'm sad to see Kane go, but I'm kind of relieved in a weird way because it has been so insufferably obvious these last few weeks that Kane is just going to flip to Arkansas once they hire a new coach. And honestly, even I think Rivals not through the same thing now, but it doesn't matter. But they dropped a quarterback intel article earlier this week about how, because Kane Archer's taking a visit to Utah, he was there for this, which you just saw, hell of a game. And even in the article, it noted that Kane and his family are just waiting to see who Arkansas hires. Like, it's the most obvious thing in the world that he was not going to come here.
Yeah,
he was not going to come here, and it sucks to give up on all those months of hype. And I want to thank Kane personally, because even though he's never going to be a Knight, he really got me through some worrying times for this program. Like, anytime a bad thing happened this year, I just basically got to say, it's okay, they're going to get Kane Archer. So the fact that instead of doing that, they're getting someone presumably a lot better. And I know that
they were prioritizing.
I know that you never know.
Yeah.
I know that you never know. But listen, Rocco Marriott is a coup. I can't overstate how big of a deal it is for year one staff, for Scott Frost, for UCF to come in and take a guy that Missouri wanted, who is a Missouri legacy commit and is a blue chip quarterback. It's a freaking blue chip quarterback signing with UCF. I mean, I really, and by the way, so and the night before he committed to UCF, he had 7 touchdowns in his game last night. So yeah, at Knights 247 Media asks, will Carr stick with UCF? That's the question. You tell me, Knights 247. You're the recruiting guys. I feel like Carr's going to stay.
I think so.
Because the situation really hasn't changed for Carr. He always knew he was coming in with another quarterback in there. It's definitely a quarterback of a higher caliber. Maybe that scares him a little bit more, but I don't know. I think if you're Carr, you're locked in. But
Rocco's big too.
Rocco's big. I mean,
I saw that. I mean, there's the one touchdown that he had last night was like a 30-something yard rushing touchdown. Was circulating a lot throughout the night and into today, and I've seen it probably 6 or 7 times now. And every time I watch it, I'm like, that is a large. I mean, obviously he's a senior in high school. I was about to say he's a freshman quarterback. He's a senior in high school, and he's that big. He's got a big frame on him. I'm excited. I'm excited to dive more into, because again, like I kind of like you were like, I don't know. I don't really see him coming to UCF, so I never really dove that far into like any of his highlights or any of his stuff on Huddle, like any of it really. And now I'm excited to get a little more into it and start to, look at the future a little bit and have something to get excited about.
Yeah. And I feel like, as excited as I am for Rocco, I'm assuming that's not going to be like, all right, let's throw him out there next year. The way what UCF needs as a program right now is they need to be competitive next year. I think next year they're going to need to go back to the portal for a quarterback and just have we've talked about this last week, like a better plan and more organization, and have it not be just running around trying to find someone like where they ended up with Taven. But
we talked about what Terry said before the Baylor game about like their strategy and all that stuff and going maybe portal heavy rather than high school heavy. So it would be, I feel like, counterintuitive to think they're going to go portal heavy and then start a true freshman quarterback with
that's where I'm at too.
So
that's where
part of that going portal heavy, I think, includes bringing in a quarterback, even if it's just a 1-year stopgap, and then you have Rocco going in. I don't know if it would be a red shirt or what, but you have him coming in potentially in 27.
I think that's exactly the play. You coach up Rocco for a year. I mean, there aren't a lot, even the blue chip quarterbacks, there aren't a lot of quarterbacks who are ready to play as true freshmen. And sometimes it can be actually really damaging. It's a position that you have to be careful with. And I do trust Frost and I trust Milton and the staff to develop him. But yeah, I think that's the play. I don't think the way Mahajer's talking about next year and just what it sounds like they're trying to do for next year, I don't think you do all that and then add a true freshman quarterback. I think you need a portal quarterback. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna be Taven. I think we all understand that. But yeah.
It is funny. I do want to tie back to Kane real quick because it's funny the spot that we're in now, or at least what's kind of gone through my head today, is that for all the time we spent over the last several weeks just hoping and praying and wishing that he will not, decommit and go and flip to Arkansas. Now I really hope he ends up at Arkansas. One, because I think it'd be cool for him as an Arkansas kid and all that, and I think that's where he really would like to be all along. But also because I don't want him in the Big 12, and I don't want to have to run that comparison where it's like, well, how's Kane doing over in Utah, or how's Rocco doing here? Like, I don't want to have that. I'd rather just see him go to Arkansas.
I would bet my life savings he ends up at Arkansas. The only way he doesn't end up at Arkansas is if that dumb internet thing is true and they hire Gus Malzahn, which that's not going to happen, by the way. But because Gus knows how. Gus would look at Kane Archer and see how good he is and be like, can't have him. Nope. I got to go find some wide receiver somewhere. So that'd be the only way to say. Yeah, like I said, he always seemed like he seemed like a really good kid, and just obviously it's always sucks when this stuff happens because more than most commits, he definitely felt like he was building a relationship with UCF fan base. UCF was really looking to him as like that savior type. I don't know, you guys are crazy. I never would have said or done anything to imply that. Crazy. But so it's unfortunate that it sort of played out this way, but how do you possibly pass on? I don't like Rocco. Guys, I just can't overstate it. It's huge that they got Rocco Marriott, and I'm very excited it's a good sign that they're recruiting like this already, and that quarterbacks of that caliber are buying in on this staff's vision and Frost's vision. And yeah, I think it's all good.
Would you care to address this rumor about you going to Arkansas as a quarterback?
Christian to Arkansas as a quarterback. Put me in, coach.
I did see.
I'd be dead within seconds.
Someone did say they trusted me to get a yard and short yardage today over what UCF currently has. I don't think that's true, but I'm a little honored by it. I don't know where it came from, but sure, line me up back there. It'd be fun. Not really. I'd probably end up severely injured. Yeah. What do you? Anything else to go on from here? I don't know if we want to talk because we will obviously. I was gonna say we'll get into kind of the offseason stuff next week. There's still another game to be played. We got a preview,
unfortunately,
and also there are going to be way more than several, a lot of weeks to get into the future stuff, and things start to happen. But with all this quarterback stuff kind of unfolding in the last couple of days, especially, I have entered into the same spot as you said it on the podcast earlier this week that you were like kind of just almost already in offseason mode. And even before this game happened today, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm starting to think about 2026, and I'm starting to kind of think about what the vision is going to be for the future and for year two, and having hopefully a much more talented roster next year than what they've done this year. So yeah, I'm ready to move on. Although we do have one more, and man, we're going to be getting that kickoff time for BYU here tonight or tomorrow, and I can only imagine how late that post-game podcast is probably going to be.
BYU's up 7-0 on Cincinnati, so sounds like that game's pretty much over.
Okay. Great. Good news.
Yeah, like I said, I think I was going to say the only other thing I could say is, and we're just going to say for the next podcast is we'll play along. We'll do a podcast where we talk about if UCF can make a bowl. They can.
We'll play along into like the first 5 minutes of the game on next Saturday.
Oh, God. MD Night 2016 says, want to give brief thoughts on UCF men's basketball so far.
Not yet.
Not going to do that tonight. All I will say on that, this is always what I do. I say I'm not going to get into it. I'm not getting into it tonight. On this week's podcast, there's a good chance I get into it. All I will say is that if you're listening to this, you know who you are. And you can apologize to me whenever you want. Oh, and also on that note, see, this is what I do. No, we're not getting into it. All I'll say really quickly, Bailey, really quickly.
All right.
We'll get out of here. Is when your team beats an ACC team by double digits, right?
Yeah, by 10.
By 10, double digits. Thank you. And I check the replies to the UCF men's basketball socials, and it's a bunch of UCF fans going, whatever, wait till conference play. You're sick in the head that this is where you're at, that your basketball team is winning games, and you're so broken inside that all you care about is being right about the coach being bad. You're upset that your team is winning games, that they're 5-1, and that their only loss came to an undefeated team who's ranked.
See what you do, NC night.
You disgust me. That section of UCF fan base disgusts me, and I'm not going to stand for it. And I'm also not going to stand for this wait till conference play. Because do you know why they're worse in conference play? Because they play in the best conference in America. It's always going to be worse in conference play. There are SEC teams that in football they go 4-0 out of conference. Why don't they go undefeated? Because then they play their SEC games.
This is mean.
That's part of it.
This is mean. We're not going to get into it, though. We're going to save it.
You all know who you are.
We're going
to save it.
We're not going to get into it. All I was going to say is we won't get into it today, but I'm having fun. That's all I was going to say. But I'm glad you kind of went there. And
I can't have
to do
fun.
that again on
I can't have. I have to do this every time they win a game. They will be in conference or not in conference. They will be in the tournament. They will have made March Madness. They're going to go out in the first round. People are going to be like, typical Dawkins can't win the big one. That's what's going to happen.
I already know they're gonna beat Kansas in their opener, and no one's gonna be happy about it because like they did this 2 years ago, and look what happened.
Look what happened. They had a winning record their first year in the Big 12, and everyone thought they were gonna win 4 games.
Here's the problem.
Season.
I'm sorry. Here's the problem. 2 others, 2 words says the fire Johnny idiots have been really quiet lately. No, they haven't.
No, they haven't.
That's what led to this.
They should be quiet. They should be quiet.
To this. They haven't actually been as quiet as they should be, but. All right.
Do you remember how UCF very famously last year told people who live out of town to stop buying tickets?
Oh, I remember.
I'm sure you all remember. That was a great moment for UCF. If I were in charge, basically what we would do is we would look at all your tweets, all of you, and we would identify the people who are tweeting things like that. Not even just anti-Johnny Dawkins, but the people who are like, they beat Pitt, and people are like, why? Oh, wait till conference play. We're going to put you on a list and just say you're not allowed to come to games ever again. Shut up. That's what we're going to do.
A friend of the program, Brian, said Ireland changed Christian.
Ireland didn't change Christian. The toxic chunk of this fan base changed Christian with your nonsense.
Post-Ireland Christian is scary.
Yeah, because I was never like this
I'm ready to get out of here. Anything else before, you scream again?
No, I agree.
All right, cool. All right. Well, UCF won a game. That was fun. UCF men's basketball also won a game on Thursday, and that was fun too. We'll be back. We'll be back next week with a preview for this season finale, regular season finale, if you will, against BYU. Until then, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us on this post-game edition of the Pegasus Podcast. We will talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.